I wanted to get on and talk about kind of the alchemy of healing. So that's kind of what I'm titling this. This is something that I've been thinking about for a while, but it is also something that was sparked as a result of kind of being in training this week. So as I said kind of the other day, I was this week in training to be basically complete requirements to become a facilitator for access bars. And it's an amazing healing modality. There's all sorts of benefits to bars itself, but there's also a set of kind of other modalities and spin-offs from that, and also kind of just like courses that someone can take um, to improve their life, to heal things, to just have better quality and, relationships and things like that. So, if you haven't heard of it, Access Consciousness is the kind of the company that it falls under. Um, so I'm becoming certified as a facilitator in that, and through that process, it's been really interesting because I was asked a question on Thursday, and the question was, "What has Access done for you?" And I thought, well, I don't know. I honestly I couldn't like directly answer the question because um, although I've had benefits from that modality in particular, I have not. The journey's been a little bit more, I'll say, indirect than just that. Oh, Kim's here, Angie's here. Hello, ladies. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good start to the weekend. Um, yeah, so I was asked what has this modality done for you? And um, the person who asked it was a participant in the class who had been doing this modality for a number of years, and it's completely changed their life. And also the facilitator changed her life as well. But it really got me to thinking that what really has it been to, one, get me on the journey, but two, what is it actually taken for me to get to today? Like what is it taken for me to get to November 2021? Um, and how did this start? Like how did I actually get here? So, I answered the question somewhat indirectly because that specific modality has introduced some interesting concepts for me that I do use with myself and with clients, but that actually was not the I don't it was not the catalyst. I'll definitely say that. Um, but I started thinking about like what was the catalyst? How did this all start? And it's been a windy road, but yeah, so how did this start? And then I started thinking about, okay, all of the differences in our journeys where sometimes we're seeking information because of a illness or a diagnosis. Sometimes we are seeking information and healing to get out of a relationship that's toxic, or we're curious, or we had a rough childhood and we're unwinding trauma from that. There are any number of reasons why we kind of embark on the healing journey, and I'm going to use healing kind of broadly because ultimately what I've started to see in kind of unpacking my own situation is that we're really kind of all seeking the same things. And although the reason, the why behind it might be to you know figure out the body to unwind the diagnosis, or to get out of the toxic relationship and stand on your own 2 feet, or break free from the trauma caused by others. ultimately what it comes down to is kind of in this journey, we're all trying to achieve peace, calm, love, expansion, safety, security, um, enlightenment, if you want to use that word. I think we're ultimately trying to, understanding, I think we're ultimately trying to strive for the same things. Um, and it's not specifically a destination, it is, the feelings of, or waking up knowing that you can walk through your day with these things kind of at the forefront instead of something that you strive toward, um, in desire from a place of lack. So ultimately, I think we're going for a a feeling. What are we trying to feel as we walk through our day? The confidence, the security, the love, the support, the expansion, the peace, all those things, the flow, the calm. And I kind of started likening it to, all of our journeys are different. So it's like, you enter the address into the GPS, or, whatever system you're using. And you type in the address, and you click directions, and ultimately there's a number of paths that you can take, right? You can take the express route, or more direct. You can, avoid the traffic, but maybe it's longer. You can take the toll road, but you'll have to pay. You can take, the long scenic route because you're not really tied to a specific time to arrive at your destination, but ultimately you're arriving kind of somewhere or in a state. And I think that's kind of how we all are, is we're, here to learn different things, but the journey is a little bit different, the path is a little bit different, but we're all striving towards the same thing. So this concept of not only being on a journey, ultimately trying to achieve something, um, we're doing it in different ways, but we're still achieving the same things. And so layering in this concept of alchemy, which is, this is kind of what I'm here for. It's what I'm all about, what I realized. And I I really started to think, like, the reason why I couldn't directly answer this person's question was because of alchemy. Natural curiosity, but alchemy. And so again, I started to unwind. I'm one that wants to, like, kind of decompose and understand, like, okay, how did this thing come to be? So again, I actually started making a timeline. I have a mental timeline of kind of how, you know, how things have unfolded, but I really wanted to kind of see, like, okay, if I were to give a more direct answer, what could that be? Like, what would that look like? How complex or convoluted or, windy scenic route would it be if I actually laid this all out? And I actually haven't been able to lay it all out because it is so, things weaving in and out of each other, and very, kind of twisty turny. But I started thinking about, so this woman's story, and how this one thing had done, um, so much for her in her life. But I also started to think about kind of, my story bumped up against that of what would I have done, or where would I be if I had stopped at just one? Not to say, one is a wrongness or a rightness, or, whatever, but just saying, like, if I had stopped at one, where would I be? Again, enter alchemy. I don't think I could have stopped at one. So, where does the timeline begin, right? Like, where does the healing journey ultimately begin? And I realized that I've been following breadcrumbs my entire life. But for me, the real healing journey started when, really, when I think I kind of got a diagnosis for autoimmune. And so that for me, that was in 2012. That was the fall of 2012. But um, actually 2010, but diagnosis in 2012. And knowing who I was before that, and then knowing who I was kind of in that period, like that 2 year period, um, I really, really think like that was the catalyst, and had to happen to be able to kind of open the door and open kind of the pathways and the possibilities of where can this go? Why did this happen? Who do I need to be? Who do I need to let go? Like all the questions, right? So, I mean, ultimately, I think that's where the story starts. And we've got some people saying, yes, timelines help to understand. Yep. And using the analogy. Yep. Okay. So using like that GPS analogy. Yeah, that's good. That's good. That's good. Yeah. I mean, it's super relatable, right? To, yeah, to say like we're all going somewhere. It's just a matter of how you get there and how long it takes, right? So, yeah, 2012, like that's kind of where my kind of healing journey started, although I've kind of been on the path for a while. But there was a little bit of kind of, I don't want to say a dark period, but there was a lot of, I'll say between 2012 and 20, maybe 16, there were 4 years where I was a little lost. I was lost, I was confused, I was disillusioned, I was angry, I was resentful, um, in disbelief, in just all over the place, but not necessarily in a good place. And there, there were also other health things that were going on as well. I had convinced myself that okay, well, I've not literally, but kind of figuratively gotten things under control, and was seeing doctor regular, had the medication, had found a new normal because I had to, and things were okay. Um, but it was because of kind of the medication that I was able to find some sort of, sustained normal. But then that changed. That changed. In 2016, I was reconnected with a friend, and we started talking about possibilities. We started talking about what we had been up to since we had last seen each other. We realized that neither of us were where we wanted to be. We didn't wake up feeling, invigorated and excited for the day and, loving life. There were all sorts of things that were going on for both of us. And um, I was introduced to Landmark. So Landmark is a personal development organization. They have a load of courses and a whole couple of curricula that can be amazing if you are. I mean, it's just like anything. If you're in that kind of that time and mindset of that's what you need, then that's what you need. And I went all in, and at the time it was what I needed because this was the first kind of organized thing that I had been exposed to be able to understand who I was, how I operated, how certain relationships had gotten to the place where they were, how my life had gotten to where it was. And I don't think I had ever cried so much sitting in that first workshop. I tell you, it was emotionally draining, but so 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 freeing at the same time because I was introduced to the fact that I had a say in how my life was going to go. Now, granted, this wasn't the first time I had heard that, but it was kind of confirmation of that in a non-spiritual form. So I had already been exposed to law of attraction. Like I was hardcore into law of attraction ever since like early 2000s. Like Mike Dooley was actually the first person that I listened to and read his books, and then Abraham Hicks. I was a hardcore Abraham Hicks follower for a number of years. And ultimately that led me to certain things that actually led me to connect even deeper with this friend that introduced me to to Landmark. But I basically reaffirmed several of the things that I knew and had learned through kind of going through this program. But I knew ultimately I was not ready for the types of things that I it was what I needed when I needed it, if that makes sense. I wasn't ready for kind of large transformations. So it was almost like the mindset and awareness of the power of the mindset had to come first to then let that sink in and then be able to shift some other things and have some ripple effects from that. So that was huge. The power of the mind to create, but also how to uncreate. So that for me, like to be able to see that in action and dream a little bit bigger and explore the realm of possibility from in a very human sense. That was very powerful for me because again, I hadn't seen that in real life. I had just watched it or read about it. And then the end of 2016 happened. So the same friend invited me to just a meeting. And I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. She didn't want to go by herself. And I said, yeah, whatever, I'll go with you. And it was basically like, personal development, but, just on a smaller scale. And what I didn't know, it was more kind of energy work, like the kind of an introduction into energy work. And this was the first, maybe a month prior was the first time I had heard of Reiki. And I actually went and I got a session. Like I, got on Google and I was like, what is this thing? I got to figure this out. I've never, I heard this word before, but I don't know what it is. And I need to experience it. So I actually did. I went home for Thanksgiving in California and I, found a store, and I was like, okay, so this is underwhelming. Like I had this session, nothing happened. She had a sound bowl and, she hit it a couple times and she said a couple chakras were blocked. I'm like, okay, I don't know what that means, but I'll believe you. And yeah, that next day I just started crying, spontaneous crying out of nowhere. Could not stop crying. Freaked me out, freaked my mom out because at the time I was not an emotional person. Like my emotional vocabulary was like five things, 5 words. It was very limited. So not only to be able to express emotion verbally, but just to like break down crying was very scary, but also the the catalyst. I think this was the catalyst because I had so much energetic gunk, how I refer to it, so much energetic gunk, so much emotional gunk that I had suppressed for 30 plus years at this point, and I didn't have a choice but to let it out. So it was coming out. Like the pipes were open. The plumber had come in and the pipes were starting to be cleaned and opened and the pathway was open. And then 2 months later, the same friend was like, hey, let's do Reiki, let's get certified, let's do this. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever, because she needed a friend, she needed a partner. And I said, yeah, whatever. And that did it. that did it. That was, for me, what I did not know at the time, but what I now know was kind of the ultimate catalyst, the ultimate entree into um, the world that I'm in now. And yeah, Krista, you're saying the power of positivity. Absolutely. But for me, it was the power of possibility. So possibility was introduced in kind of into my vocabulary through Landmark. Like that's kind of all about possibility. What is possible? Access bars is also like that. What is possible? What else is possible from this state that I'm in? What can I create from where I am? How can I be more of who I'm supposed to be and show up more of who I came here to be? How can I create that? What does that look like? So having that mindset shift, one was key, but having that kind of underlying invisible energetic clutter that I never would have known about start to just come out, like the floodgates were open after 2017, February 2017, February 11th 2017. That's when Reiki 1 happened, and I'll never forget that because um, I was very just blocked and afraid of everything, and I didn't know it. I didn't know it. There's no way I could have known it in that in that time, in that space that I was in. But I was also introduced. So this why I say Reiki was the catalyst. It was also the first time that I had heard someone say they had healed themselves from a diagnosis or a sickness. I had heard about, spontaneous healings through the church and, people being, um, healed that way, but I had never heard or even fathomed the possibility that someone could heal themselves from anything. And my Reiki master said, this is what I used to heal myself, and I got off medication and this and this, and I'm like, wait, what? Okay. I sat up and I was like, okay, I'm gonna listen to this. I'm doing this because there's something here for me. And I went through all the layers of Reiki, all the levels, in a year and a half. I was just like, I got to soak this up. I got to figure this out. I gotta. And um, that started opening up things that were just way, 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 way down under the surface for me. But what I realized was, one, it was necessary. Two, I was never going to find it on my own. But had it not been for kind of a, yeah, sure, whatever, I'll go because, you need a friend. Or, yeah, I'll do this because it sounds interesting. Um, what I now know through, creation, laws of the universe, was all of these seeds were planted for a reason. Like, I put them there because I know I had to go through certain things, but all of these things were planted for a reason. And it was up to me to accept the invitation to bite or to say yes or to, listen to the thing. All of the roads kind of, you know, led to one another. And I realized that when we're in our darkest spots, when we're in the frustration, when we're in the contrast, as Abraham would say, when we're in the middle of it, we can't see that. When we're on the floor in tears because we're just frustrated and we can't figure it out. We don't know why us. We don't understand why this is happening. We're not we don't have the wherewithal to think about why, or what's the benefit, or what am I supposed to learn from this, or what is my next step. We're thinking I'm in pain, we're thinking I'm frustrated, we're thinking, it's got to get better than this. And I'm saying this from a very specific place because I had several moments of that where I literally was on the floor in tears because I could not figure it out. I was so upset. I was so frustrated. I'd be on the couch all weekend. I'd drag myself to work. I'd make up all the excuses of why I couldn't show up at a certain place or why I physically couldn't, do one thing or another. And I had to realize there was a lesson in it, but I could not see. I couldn't see I couldn't see the lesson. It took me years to figure out the lesson. But I also couldn't see that that was part of the journey. Like it was a necessary part of the journey. But I had to follow the breadcrumbs. Like I had to go through it. So Reiki got me that spark that I needed to see that someone had done it, and the prognosis that I received of medication for life did not have to be that there was another option. I needed another option, and I got my entree. I got my, like, the foot in the door. Like, that door, I busted that door open. So I went through all the layers of Reiki. Got super sick in the process. Like, all of the release that my body was doing, like, it was insane. I was at the doctor, I was at emergency, like the urgent care. They were doing x-rays, and conventional medication was not working. But you know what I got turned on to? Essential oils. And I have not turned back from essential oils. It's like literally essential oils saved my life. Going to my grave with that. Because all the antibiotics and all the stuff that I was getting prescribed did not work. So that was another breadcrumb. Oils. Going to natural solutions to work with the body chemistry, all of those things were what my body needed, what I craved, again, on an energetic level. It was all non-physical. And I would never have been able to think about that, fathom anything outside of like the physical before being exposed to these things. Also, I was introduced to hypnosis, and I was like, yeah, sure, whatever, I'll try it. After the first hypnosis session, all of a sudden, my hormones started getting back in check, and my body's doing things that it was supposed to be doing this whole time. I was like, huh, there's something to this energy realm. And I was introduced and hooked to what was in the realm of possibility, and starting to ask questions that I didn't even know I could ask and then find answers, because I was told, to no fault of their own, by all the medical professionals that I had worked with, that what they had told me, what they had diagnosed me with this prognosis, was the only option. Diet's not going to help, exercise isn't going to help, rest isn't going to help, stress management isn't going to help. Nothing was going to change this. In the back of my head, I knew that was not true, but it was going to take time for me to get to the answers, and then get to a place where I could ask questions with new knowledge to seek new answers. And Christy sharing that, yeah. 23 years old and can't even make Kool-Aid. Aw. It's like you have those moments, and those are like your most vulnerable moments. And you can look back now and laugh, but in the moment, it's not funny. It's not funny. There's nothing. It's no laughing matter. I completely understand that. Yeah, I've fallen upstairs. I've fallen downstairs. I've tripped walking, fallen walking. Like I could go through all of the things that have happened over the years. Um, but I'm not going to. But I can relate. I can very much relate to that. So 2017 ended up being like a really, really big year for me because, again, the Reiki 1, Reiki 2, and hypnosis and oils. I'm like, there's a whole different world out here. Holy crap, there's all this unseen, unknown stuff that we're not exposed to on a daily, regular basis. So I went all in. And then the following year, I was kind of connected with another kind of a coach mentor, did a couple programs, and now I was heavy into what more can I learn about this energy stuff. I was sold in Reiki, and I'm like, who else can I connect to or connect with so I can learn more and one, see what else is out there, but how can I get more information for myself to be able to heal and achieve these things that I've been looking for, because now I know something's possible. Now I know there's another option. So I worked with this coach, and I had a session with her. She was like an intuitive, definitely a healer, but she also helped people with business, so like intuitive business coaching. And I was like, okay, let's see what's going on here. And I had a session with her, um, and I was so upset after the session. But I had this I had this session with her, and the question that she asked me, because I was expressing how frustrated I was with this diagnosis. I was frustrated with not being able to figure things out, and not being able to seek things fast enough. Like I wanted it now. And the question that she posed to me was, why are you holding on to it? And I said, come again? What do you mean holding on to it? I'm not holding on to anything. Why would you, like, how can you come out of your mouth and say that? You're making me take credit and ownership for this. This is not my doing. And she was like, okay, well, I have to ask because, you know, the way the universe works and energy and laws and all these things, you have to entertain that. It's like, screw you. How dare you say something like that to me? I'm not talking to you. Then someone else asked me something similar. And I was like, okay, well, if two people are asking me this similar question, maybe there's something to it. Then I had to realize law of attraction. Not necessarily like tried and true law of attraction, but just like our power and ability to create. I had to remember that I had those nuggets way, way, way in the back of my head, of my psyche. I had to realize I had those things. And I said, okay, maybe there's something to this. So if I can create, I can uncreate, right? So I started playing. I was introduced to acupuncture. I was introduced to not only oils, but the power of kind of certain nutrients and diet. So I started experimenting with, more smoothies and different ingredients in smoothies and juice, and, taking things out of my diet. I actually stopped on purpose dairy in fall of 2017. So what is it? What does your body do when you take certain things out of your diet? What does your body do when you put certain things in? So being able to play with the diet and nutrition and certain exercise regimen and things like that. What happens when you add or you take away? What's the adaptation? What does the body do? What does the mind do? How do things relate differently? So that actually ended up being a good chunk of, I'll say, 2018, 2019, because I really wanted to understand how I had been hurting my body by way of the things that I was putting into it. So that was a new awareness, including medication. So, introduced to another coach mentor, kind of the 2018 timeframe through another, random thing that I participated in, and was introduced into more depth of kind of energy work and concepts that things like entities and attachments and cords and contracts, and more about past lives and how things impact the way that our lives are conducted and the people that cross our paths, and like all these things. I started getting into that and I was like, holy crap, like there's more. There's more. There's more to add to the story. There's more to add to this ever expanding picture. There's more information and I can play with it. So I continued to play. And I actually started working with a naturopath in like the 2018, 2019 timeframe, because the mindset had started to shift, relationships had started to shift. I was doing a lot on my own by way of, trial and error, taking things out, putting things in, but it became time to, like work with someone to be able to, do that in a more monitored fashion. So I got more hardcore into the the energy work and the power of the mind, the body, the spirit, like all the layers together. What happens when you weave in and out and treat the whole body, multiple bodies, energetic, physical, if, I'm not going to say all the labels, but when you're layering things on top of one another instead of just one piece and one part at a time. What happens when you start to weave all that stuff together? That's when magic happens. When you start to weave multiple things together and start to expand the curiosity to see what happens. Again, putting one thing in, taking one thing out, shifting this, shifting that. What happens when you're willing to just say yes and try? And I was willing to say yes and try. Enter another healing modality. Actually, enter another two healing modalities. I said that I kind of started this off with taking a class so I can facilitate bars. So 2019 was actually when I was introduced to bars through another modality, and so that's kind of come full circle because now I can spread the wealth and teach others how to connect the mind, connect the body, release the stress from the environment, physical and energetic. But really coming together as the whole. That's what did it. So again, I was picking these pieces apart to see how did this start. It started with mindset. It started with understanding that you can create, that other things are possible. There's physical things, and then it morphed into there's physical and there's energetic. And then once I understood that there's energetic, then it went back to physical. Okay, what do you do with diet? What do you do with exercise? What do you do when you take things out? Okay, let's go back to the energetic. There's more depth here. There's more breadth here. what is the next layer for the energetic? And the energetic is like infinite layers. I think we all know that. But what happens when you continue to say yes, when you continue to be curious and want to know more? Even if you don't consciously want to know more, opportunities present you to say, yeah, sure, I'll try it out. Or yeah, that feels good. Let's see what happens there. So I continue to say yes to lots of things. Like I said, the naturopath, and I was doing acupuncture, and the diet, and the smoothies and the classes, and enter 2020. We're thinking, okay, global pandemic, the world shuts down, all hell breaks loose. Um, that was actually what did it. Kind of another key milestone, because I was able to not not press so hard. So while all of the kind of this healing and exploration and all these other things are going on with my body, I'm working a full-time job. I'm in corporate America. I'm working 40, 50-hour weeks and growing a career there while dealing with like all this body stuff. So the stress, the commuting, the pressure of that was continuing to add to my ability to heal. I am grateful. I actually know several people who can say they're grateful for 2020, because 2020 caused the world to shut down, but it caused us to come back to center and reprioritize what was really important to us. But it meant I didn't have to commute anymore. Completely honest. Like, it meant I didn't have to commute anymore. And I was able to work from home. And I was able to completely shift. So I was able to focus more on me and focus on resting and focus on really getting to know my body, getting to know my body's needs, continuing to shed the things that did not serve it, my lifestyle, my future. And that continued to happen, the shedding and the expansion. And in that process, I was able to not only help myself, but also further solidify my place on this path, on this journey, to heal and benefit myself, but also heal and benefit others. And this kickstarted kind of in 2020, to be able to like see this as, this is where I need to be, and this is where the biggest impact, the most good for all is going to come. But this whole 2020 thing also introduced two new things. So I actually said yes to some more hypnosis, more hypnosis, but QHHT, so quantum healing hypnosis technique, and which is amazing. If you're in the local DC area, hit me up because we can do a session. But I was also introduced to another coach who has helped me through one of the most difficult decisions I've ever made. And she's amazing, first and foremost, but two, really helped solidify the fact that I want to do for others, I want to continue to do for others what she has done for me, to be that coach, be that safe space, to be that sounding board, to kind of be the cheerleader or the reflection in the mirror, to help people see the possibility, to explore the options, to show that there are other options, and to ultimately kind of step on that path, or whatever the path is, to know that there is more available, know that life does not have to be like this, to know that it's possible to thrive, it's possible to be in flow and alignment, and that there is a way that they can do it in their own time. Further solidifying that that is what I am here to do for you, for, many people. But ultimately, I have to learn that for myself before I can do that and walk that path alongside you. So more healing, more mindset, more nutrition, more decisions about stepping up, and what that means ultimately for me, but also, for the collective. And hey Dal, good morning. Um, so yeah, so that brings us to now. Like, what is what is the next step? Like, where does the journey go now? Ultimately, for me, it's been making a decision about which path am I on, and I chose. I was in a place where I didn't actually have a choice but to choose. It was choose or, like, now is the time. Like, there was no or. Um, so I'm doing this now full time because my health depended on it. So health meaning mental, physical, emotional, psychological, all of it, all the layers of health, all my health, my wellness, my well-being depended on it. My mission depended on it. The people who I am here to help, to serve, who are looking for me, needed it, like needed me to step up. And I had to get help to finally see that and to get the courage to do it. Um, but I did it. And actually, 2020, I say 2020 was a pivotal year for me as well, because I was also able to basically get off medication. So it was my redemption period to say I had figured some things out, and I defied the odds. Was there ever a doubt that I could do that? Yeah, a little bit. But the further that I've got on this journey, the doubt lessened and lessened because I knew what was possible. I started to believe what was possible. I started to see what I was capable of. So I was actually proving to myself this entire time that just because someone says something doesn't believe it has to be true. That's true for them, but it doesn't have to be my truth. It doesn't have to be my version of truth. I get to define my version of truth. I get to define where I go, how I conduct myself, and I can take others, input and experiences and bounce that off of what I believe, at the time, and be open to accept that, and also open to say, you know what, that's not for me right now. I respect it, but not for me right now. And keep it moving, like that's okay. But I think had that not happened, had 8 years, 20, yeah, 8 years, um, had all of this not happened, like today would not be possible. And the whole medication process, that was like a 2.5 year thing to, one, have that person ask me the question, why are you holding on to this? And then the second person asking me the same question, and me getting out of my own way to realize, okay, maybe there's something to this. To getting so connected to my body to realize when it wanted different, because I realized I was at a point where I, out of desperation, was like, I'm done. I don't care what it takes. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not taking pills to survive. I'm not taking pills to go through my day and feel semi normal and still have bad days. That was not for me. Like, I was not about that life. I was for a little bit because I had to be, but ultimately, that wasn't mine. And I realized that once I stopped forcing a process, I stopped forcing what I thought needed to change, and surrendered to the process, surrendered to the things that were presenting in front of me, surrendered to blooming where I was planted, so to speak, that's when things started to unfold. That's when the connection started to happen. That's when I just kept saying yes. So whether someone was like, use this supplement instead of that supplement, see what happens. Try acupuncture, see what happens. Try floating, see what happens. Try, you know, this energy healing modality. Go talk to this person. Go, visit this. Once I realized that I was literally just following the breadcrumbs and I was saying yes to the things that presented, regardless of how crazy they seemed, that's when the magic happened. That's when things started to fall into place. The connection with the body started to get stronger. And I'll never forget, I woke up on my 35th birthday and I went into the bathroom and I looked in the mirror and I said, is this over yet? Just as serious and genuine as possible. I said, is this over yet? And then I went in the kitchen and I took the pills because I knew it wasn't over yet. But I knew that day was coming. I couldn't have been able to say that unless I knew there was a possibility of something changing. So we're here. A year, medication free. On this path, 100%, fully dedicated. Layers of healing later. How did we get here? I still say alchemy. I still say the willingness to believe, the curiosity to try, the audacity to take action and see what happens. Again, no matter how crazy or how far out, or if it's just a curiosity, or if it seems like a little teeny tiny whisper instead of the big loud booming voice, the audacity to say, yeah, I'll try this, let me see what happens. Or, no, I believe in me more than I believe in this thing that you're trying to sell me. I believe that I am different. My journey is different. This does not dictate my journey or who I am. I'm going to try these things and I'm going to go and take the scenic route because that's what feels good to me. Yes, audacity. The audacity to believe. And the audacity to take action. Follow the breadcrumbs. Take one thing out, see what happens. Put one thing back in, see what happens. Following the breadcrumbs and seeing if you like the thing. I really, really believe in the power of following the breadcrumbs. Like, I always grew up naturally curious, but I also know that, well, I know that's kind of part of the journey, but there's also faith, there's belief in self, there's curiosity, there is just pure grit, But I think that comes with being willing to kind of take a stand for yourself. That's also something that I learned in Landmark, is being able to take a stand for yourself. Um, I really think that we don't give ourselves permission to do that, to take a stand for ourselves, and then unapologetically stick with that. We wait for others to give us permission to do that, and when we do that, oftentimes it doesn't happen. So it's been a long, windy road. It's been twisty, turny, scenic. Sometimes there's an express route, sometimes there's traffic, sometimes there's a toll road, sometimes there is assistance, visual assistance, sometimes there's energetic assistance. Sometimes it doesn't seem like there's assistance, but it's there. But I think what I've really, really learned is the power of the curiosity, the power of taking action, the power of being willing to just see what happens. So, going back to this woman that asked me the question, what did this one modality do for you? I actually don't have an answer. I don't know. It's contributed to my story. It's contributed to my journey, as have all of the other modalities and certifications and experiences and people and things that I've experienced over the last, I'll say, 9 or 10 years. It's a contribution, as I'm a contribution to others. It does not paint the whole picture. It is literally a piece of the puzzle. It is a contribution to the whole. And I think that the more that we're willing to explore in our own, health, in our life, in our environment, in the creation of our experience, the richer it can be, the more full it can be, the more expanded it can be, the more we're able to dig into the deepest, darkest depths of ourself to understand how we tick and operate, peel back the layers, and then pass that on to help others so they can do the same and expand and experience that expansion for themselves. One thing that I've learned is expectations get in the way of progress. And I've had expectations like, oh, I just had this amazing session, this thing is going to clear. Or, oh, I just had this amazing conversation, this is the way this is going to turn out, instead of that. And it hasn't worked out that way at all. I specifically remember talking to the naturopath, my naturopath. This was probably a year and a half ago. And we had a really good conversation. And I was like, okay, this is what's going to shift next. Like, I knew this is the one thing that was going to shift next. And it didn't. It didn't. It didn't shift at all. But 2 or 3 other things that were like completely came out of left field, I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. I didn't see that coming. So I realized that along the twisty, turny, scenic route, windy road, surrender and releasing the expectations, because our expectations actually do limit us. That it has the likelihood of limiting who we are, our possibility of experiencing the fullness of what we're supposed to experience, good, bad, and different. But having those expectations does have the ability to limit us. And I realized that there are certain points where I limited or had expectations where I don't want to say I hurt myself, but I wanted something and I was trying to force it or effort. And that actually isn't what was needed. So, but being in the flow, being willing to surrender, being willing to be curious, the willingness to explore and alchemize. That's been the power of my journey, connecting with people, connecting with resources, connecting with myself. That has been the key. It hasn't just been one thing. I wish I could say there's been one magic bullet, like one thing that I did that absolutely was the answer. And I can't. I'd 100% be lying to you if I said it was one thing. Curiosity might be the one thing. Curiosity and willingness to do things. That might be the magic bullet. But if it's a modality, if it's a pill, if it's a person, if it's a tactic or a framework or a whatever, no. Mm-mm. Alchemy. Curiosity, the willingness to take action, follow the breadcrumbs, and see what happens. And being willing to pivot, being open to what happens, and then being willing to see what the next step is after that. So, I'm interested in other people's experience with alchemy, with healing on their journey. I'd be curious to hear what your puzzle pieces were. What are the things that have contributed to you to get to where you are? And also, what have you not done? Where have you limited yourself in your experience? So saying no to something or saying yes when you should have said no. Well, should. I'll use that lightly. Where where are you not alchemizing? Where are you not seeing the possibilities? Where are you letting other things get in the way of enhancing that experience? What else could you create in that exploration? What expansion can you have in trying that new thing or taking that thing out and then seeing what happens? That's what I would like to hear. So, some things to think about if you'd like to share. I'm definitely interested in hearing. Um, if not, maybe something to journal about, something to have conversation about in your circle. So, alchemy, healing, not a destination. It is definitely a journey. We all have different routes. We're all seeking to achieve a lot of the same things, like I said, in that healing process. But we have to be open to what the journey wants us to experience and what we said we wanted to experience when we came here. So, that is all I have for today. I hope this was helpful, me kind of sharing my journey and kind of how I've had twists and turns and kind of how those twists and turns have led to today. And also understanding that there is always something cool and expansive next. So I'm excited to see what is actually going to happen next on this journey.